Are you asking questions? Are you asking why? Are you paying attention? Do you see the big lies? When will you get busy? Yeah, they're scared to death of you. Oh, it started a long time ago. Yeah.
The line's been crossed in the sand, and the fire's been fanned. All the people demand to hear the plot that you planned. You won't be trusted anymore.
All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're situated on this great, big, beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation. It is the second day of July, 2025. And as always, I welcome you to the WTF Reports. I'm your host, Dave Von Kleist, and I'm here with the audio receipts. That's the way I work it here, folks. You're not going to say, oh, Dave said this, Dave said that. You're going to hear it directly from the horse's mouth so that you, dear listener, can put the puzzle pieces together for your own self and figure it out. Yeah. Anyway, this is what I call Red Pill 101. And we're being brought to you in part by the Wave Watch. And yes, I mention it every single day because it's worth mentioning every single day. Based on Tesla's principle that frequency is everything, Royal Raymond Rife back in the 20s and 30s figured out that by exposing pathogens, bacteria, viruses, fungi, etc. to different frequencies, you could destroy those pathogens. He also discovered that certain frequencies would make certain cells thrive. That means it can help you in certain ways as well. So do some research into Rife technology, Rife machines, and then check out the Wave Watch because it's a Rife machine you wear on your wrist. And by the way, they are extending the special. There's a special. Of course, if you visit our website, TheWTFReports.com, click on the sponsors page, and you'll find a window there that'll take you to the Wave Watch. You'll also see a little pop-up there that'll give you $100 off of your purchase of a Wave Watch. But wait, there's more. That's right. There's a special for Independence Day. And what they're doing is they're offering an extra $50 off, so that's a total of $150 off your purchase. And if you're one of the first 200 people to order, you'll get a red, white, and blue patriotic wristband to go with it. So go to thewtfreports.com, click on the sponsors page, visit the Wave Watch website, and share it with your friends. And use the promo code REDPILL100 for the discount. Okay, that said, where do we start today? And I know I always ask that question, but, let's start off by talking about conspiracy theories. Yeah, that term conspiracy theory was thunk up by the CIA after John F. Kennedy was assassinated, so they could basically discredit anyone who dared to question the Warren Commission and the official story of a lone gunman, Lee Harvey Oswald. Well, we now know that whole issue, it's still coming out. But the point is that the term conspiracy theory has been very effective for decades to diffuse anyone who challenges a narrative. Well, I gotta tell you, folks, this whole deal about conspiracy theories, well, you know what? The conspiracy theories or theorists are heroes. They really are, and I'm proud to say that I'm one of them. I've been screaming about this stuff from the rooftops for 3 decades. Anyway, there's a gentleman here that posted an explanation as to why we do what we do, and I want to share this.
I think it's important to remind everyone that the only reason why we're not yet living in a 15-minute city on 23-hour lockdown, wearing masks, eating bugs, getting a cancerous shot in our body every other week, plugged into a hive mind to slave away to the elite, it's because of us. It's because of us who went on the streets at every opportunity since 2020. It's because of the truckers in Canada, the farmers in Europe. It's because of the so-called conspiracy people who blew the lid off this whole anti-human agenda. It's because we said out loud what most of us were thinking, that we're still somewhat free. So before you judge your crazy, racist, misogynist friends, know this. There's nothing in it for us. We take all the heat, we take all the insults, and we deal with the consequences, and the censorship, and the loss of revenue, and the assassination of character, so we can make all of us free. And that includes you. So next time you see one of your crazy conspiracy friends, do your future, your family, and yourself a favor, and show them some respect.
That's right. They deserve some respect. And, and like I said, yours truly, I've been screaming about this for years and years. And I got to tell you, as a matter of fact, I'm going to fast forward this because there's a verse in this song. I wrote this song 30 years ago, folks. 30 years ago. And here's this one verse here.
I think we all know we've been lied to through the years. Events confirm our darkest fears, and in denial we still act like nothing's wrong. We work so hard to get along, manipulate and rearrange. The plan is brilliant and long range, and no one notices the change. Understand, it's all been planned.
Understand, it's all been planned. They've been doing it incrementally for your entire life. Your entire life, folks. They've been propagandizing and lying to you. We are living in a matrix, but you know what? The world is waking up. They really, really are. It's happening. It truly is happening. And it's for guys like us, we crazy conspiracy theorists. I tell you, it's there's no joy in I told you so for either party. And for us, it's like watching a huge train wreck in super slow-mo. Get it over with. I mean, WTF. I can't wait for this stuff to start being exposed. And I got to tell you, I've got a couple topics I want to get to. But right off the bat, I got a clip here, and this is about a 5-minute clip, and I'll tell you, it's worth every second to listen to. There's a woman, she calls herself Melissa Red Pill, and she posts on TikTok and on X. And she put together a whole bunch of puzzle pieces here. And for those of you who have been following the bouncing conspiracy ball for the past 10 years, ever since Trump came down the golden escalator, she puts a whole bunch of this stuff together. So it gets a little technical, but for those of you who have been paying attention, you'll recognize some of the dots that she's putting together. Listen to this.
Hey there, Patriots. I have something really important I want to share with you from MJ Truth Ultra, and I wanted to make sure that you saw it and kind of understood it because it's a lot of research I think that is very important. So check this out. I'm going to read it to you. Listen to what he says. President Trump was speaking about to us Anons. He was talking about Elon getting all these subsidies. He says, listen to what he says about Elon, and very specifically about how Elon Musk is the most subsidized human in history.
Whoa.
Q asked, why is Elon Musk, or EM, provided big worldwide subsidies? That question, when researching, leads to extraordinary answers. Elite globalist families sought to control the world by militarizing space and holding nations hostage with nuclear weapons. That plan involved enabling North Korea and Iran to develop nuclear weapons to trigger a global conflict, potentially World War III, to destroy the United States. Of course, we know that North Korea was taken out a few years ago, 2018. Okay, but then they still had Iran involved. All right, so let's listen to the end. Hillary Clinton, they thought she never would lose, was expected to win in 2016, was tasked with escalating tensions with Russia to spark this war, while a CIA-controlled North Korea served as a backup plan. The 2010 Uranium One deal, approved by Obama and the U.S. government under Clinton's State Department, allowed Russia's Rosatom to acquire the U.S. uranium assets. Remember her sending the uranium over there through Rosatom, allegedly supplying uranium to North Korea and Iran. Operation Merlin covertly provided nuclear technology to these nations, and Obama's billions in cash was key, likely funding further development, with funds possibly reaching black site projects in Iran, North Korea, and ISIS, likely orchestrated by no-name McCain. SpaceX, there's the connection with SpaceX, with Elon, was heavily subsidized by the U.S. government through CIA arrangements via RISV Traverse Management. Remember that. RIZVI, Traverse Management. You might remember that from the keyboard. Ensuring its survival. Obama scaled back NASA to remember how they were like, why is NASA being scaled back? Well, this is why. So it would put this all on SpaceX. Why we're funding SpaceX was heavily subsidized by the U.S. government. Okay. To funnel funds to SpaceX, providing advanced rocket technology to North Korea. In return, the CIA gained access to SpaceX Iridium satellites, which likely provided guidance systems for North Korea's ICBMs, allowing the CIA to redirect potential nukes to any target. They've been working on this for years, and they cannot believe that it's now gone. It's gone in North Korea, and now it's gone in Iran. And so their game is over. This thing that they've been working on, this was their fail-safe, and it's gone. Like Eric Prince's Blackwater. Let me see if I can get it to go down a little bit more. Okay, goodness gracious. I've got to get it to go down somewhere. Okay, good. SpaceX is a private company effectively controlled by government funding, serving globalist goals. Obama was installed to facilitate Uranium One and SpaceX subsidies. Suhail Rizvi, tied to SpaceX funding, was linked to Saudi Prince's Al-Walid bin Talal. Remember him? Al-Walid bin Talal, supported by Obama's presidency. He was a big owner, a part owner in Twitter back in the day. He backed Obama's rise, and he paid for Harvard for Obama. President Trump disrupted this plan upon taking office. Remember that? Al-Walid bin Talal was arrested, he was put under control. Despite MSM claims he'd start World War III, it is highly likely a covert military operation demolished the North Korea's nuclear program in a mountain collapse covered as an earthquake, neutralizing the threat in clandestine white hat operation to remove North Korea from the globalist cabal's chessboard. So they were no longer able to do this. And remember how as soon as this happened, all of a sudden, Kim Jong-un is like, oh, I want to go to the Olympics. I'm going to send you back your war dead. We're not going to have nuclear war. All that happened, okay? On April 20, 2018, the North Korean government announced that it would suspend nuclear tests and shut down the Pyeongchang nuclear site. Trump also exposed Musk's massive subsidies, highlighting SpaceX's questionable funding. SpaceX was a globalist tool to militarize space with Iridium satellites, enabling North Korea's ICBM tracking, creating a globalist hostage scenario with globalist elites holding the trigger. The CIA could use these satellites like Amazon Echo devices to manipulate threats, potentially staging.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that, cutting it off. But you see how many puzzle pieces that she was putting together? And yes, it's a very complicated scheme, shall we say. What's that old saying? Oh, what a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive. And yes, she mentioned Uranium One. Let's not forget, 20% of our uranium was sent over to overseas, to Russia, okay? And that was Hillary and Obama. I mean, we're talking treason on an unprecedented level. But I wanted to share that with you because, connecting the dots, it's not always easy. But she's doing a good job. Again, that was a post from Melissa Redpill. So, and yeah, I want to reiterate that I was watching the news last weekend, and they were talking about how the mainstream legacy media has been losing ground consistently for the past several years, to the point now where very few people are going to NBC or CBS or ABC or CNN or MSNBC or Fox. They're getting their news from social media platforms like TikTok and like X and like Facebook and Instagram. That's what's happening because, they've been lying to us. The legacy media has been lying to us over and over and over again for our entire lives. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. I have a very disturbing story to tell you. Actually, let me go back in my own personal history. For those of you who have been following yours truly for some time, you know that I got my broadcasting license back in 1979. And I worked a bunch of radio stations and television stations doing narrations and commercials and doing vocal stuff. I play guitar and sing. And I do, narrations and stuff. and somewhat theatrical background as well. And at one point, trying to support my theatrical and musical habit, I took a job with a singing messenger service. I was one of those guys who would dress up. At one point, I had to dress up like Batman and go to a kid's birthday party, and that was kind of fun. At one point, excuse me, I had to be Santa Claus for a Christmas party. And, they stuffed me full of pillows and stuff, made me look fat and everything, and I had all these balloons, and I got to this really big house, this mansion, if you will, and I was given a bag of toys that I was going to give out to the kids. So they let me in the house, and then they sat me down. It was, a beautiful contemporary house, white shag carpeting and chrome and steel and stuff, and there was this big white chair they put me in. And I got to tell you, when I walked in, it was around Christmas time. It was cold outside. So when I came in, the house was it was like 80 degrees in there. So anyway, they sat me in this chair and, ho, 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 and what's your name, little boy? Oh, hello, Billy, I've got a present for you. And, ho, ho, ho. And so I'm playing the Santa Claus bit and blah, blah. I give out all the things, and all the toys. And then my gig is over. Thank you, Merry Christmas. And I go out. Oh, my God, I'm sweating like a pig. It was so hot. Anyway, so I go back to the office there. And they're furious with me. I said, what did I do? She says, you ruined the chair. I said, what do you mean I ruined the chair? It's all stained red. Well, they gave me a brand new Santa Claus suit, and I was sweating like a pig, and I guess perspiration bled onto the chair. Anyway, that's a long story of my personal history. But the point is that there are still people out there that do these parties. And this is a testimonial. This is really, really disturbing. I'm just going to play this. Listen to what this woman said that she was doing. Here it is.
Name one thing in your industry or profession that the general public would be shocked to know.
Okay, the question was, name one thing in your profession that the public would be shocked to hear. And so here is a woman that's explaining her job, and it sounds like it was similar to mine. Here it is.
Working in children's character entertainment, which means we are with children on their most wonderful day of their lives, whether it's a holiday, birthday party. They get to meet the most magical thing they can imagine, which to them is princess, superhero, mermaid, pirate, fairy, Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny. These kids are having the most wonderful time, and they will use that opportunity in their eyes to talk to the most magical thing that they have ever encountered, which is this character.
Okay, I'm going to pause it. Okay, again, you're dealing with young, impressionable children who still believe in Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy and the Easter Bunny. And here's this woman, and she's basically doing the same type of a job that I was doing way back when. So she's dressed up as a fairy or a mermaid or what have you. Okay, she continues.
And ask us to stop their abusers. They will tell us who it is.
Okay, I'm going to back it up.
And they will use that opportunity in their eyes to talk to the most magical thing that they have ever encountered, which is this character, and ask us to stop their abusers. They will tell us who it is, what they are doing, and they will beg us to help them stop it.
That's horrifying. That is horrifying. Now, fortunately, when I was doing that type of a job, I never had that experience. But she's basically saying that when she dresses up like a mermaid or a fairy or something, and she goes to this birthday party, and the little kid comes up and thinks that she's really is a fairy or a princess or what have you, and the child comes up and says, "Please help me get out of this abusive thing." And that's terrifying. That is absolutely terrifying. And this is what's going on across the board. Anyway, and it ain't no doggone conspiracy theory, folks. Yes, child abuse and sexual abuse is rampant in our society, and we've got to stop it. We absolutely have to stop it. Okay, that said, I'm going to change gears a little bit and talk a little bit about the hokey-pokey thingy-dingy and those who are behind it. Now, a lot of stuff is starting to come out, and I've got several different clips here. Excuse me. First of all, on True News, they were talking about the military that was these military personnel who are being subjected to the hokey pokey. I'm just going to say it, the vaccine. And here's what, let me see if I can get this to play properly here. And off we go.
We know from the DMED database, the military's database, which we're looking at because that's our plaintiff class, that in 10 months of 2021, so not even the complete year, all causes, morbidity and mortality had increased, according to the military's own numbers, by 1,100%, 1,100% over 2020.
Wow.
Among who? What was the population?
Between 18 and 40 was the DMED population, if memory serves.
In the
military members.
Military
yes, that's what
numbers.
I'm telling you. Yes, that's what I'm telling you. That is the database that we're operating on.
1,100%?
Yes, that's right. And if you look at the way that the charts go, and don't forget I'm in the morbidity business. We underwrite accident, sickness, health, and disability insurance. If you look at the forecast, that should be in the neighborhood of 5,000% increase this year.
Oh my gosh.
That's staggering.
Yeah, this is genocide. You said it in the very beginning. Look, one easy way to look at this is really simple. If you look at all of the documentation, Pfizer's documentation, we did mass spectrometry on their vials. We know what's in these things. And in fact, they even admit that they added an HIV protein into the shots for the purpose of disabling people's autoimmune. Right? They couldn't slip these lipid nanoparticles, which are in fact little bombers that carry pathogenic proteins, to effectuate gene modification in the individual, gene therapy as they call it. In order to get those lipid nanoparticles past your cellular defense, your body's defense, they had to disarm your immune system. Yes. And they did that. It's in all the scientific papers. What they didn't do is undo that. So effectively, and when you talk to our expert witness, you call it autoimmune deficiency syndrome. It's basically vaccine AIDS. And right now, they're coming to understand this. People are showing up HIV positive. People with 3 shots have no immune system left over whatsoever. There is no other way to characterize this other than intentional homicide, the unlawful taking of a human life, except that it's in large numbers, which makes it a genocide.
I'm going to pause it for a second. This is what they did to our military. This is what they did to our military to weaken our defense systems. Yeah.
So this is criminal, and we actually filed a criminal complaint. We created one in March of 2021. 20,000 of them were downloaded and filed all over the United States and the world, and until very recently, no law enforcement would take up the case or even investigate it. That's called a conspiracy. It's
yes.
a very grand conspiracy.
Yes. A vaccine-delivered AIDS epidemic.
That's right. That's correct. In fact, what's really odd about that is now they're starting to open up the FEMA death camps, as I call them, their quarantine centers under the intergovernmental agreements. And you will note, and I'll send you a copy of one, that the camps are not to discriminate for purposes of infectious disease, for purposes of who gets quarantined and who doesn't. They're not allowed to discriminate against people that are AIDS positive, HIV positive, because that would be the entire population of people that got those shots, particularly the Pfizer or Moderna shots. We know that those are the HIV proteins that they put in there in order to disable the immune systems.
And the vaccinated people, not knowing, they don't know that their immune system has been turned off.
No.
Then they're now vulnerable to all kinds of viruses and germs.
That's right.
And they may die from something else, and nobody connects it to the vaccine.
That's exactly what's happening. And you know, to your point, people don't even know that they have been participating as laboratory animals.
Mm-hmm. They don't even know that they've been participating as lab rats, if you will. This is just one of many, many, many different reports about these vaccines. All right. Let me see. Here's Del Bigtree about talking about how many studies they did on the safety of these childhood vaccines, because it's not just the military. Yeah, they're going after everybody. Listen to this one.
You said your website says all vaccines don't cause autism. So let's just challenge this. So we said to the CDC, how did you determine they don't cause autism? Mm-hmm. We fought them for a year. They wouldn't answer. We finally sued. We sued them. What trials did you do to show that they don't cause autism? Mm-hmm. Where's that mountain? Mm-hmm. 0.
No way.
In the end, 0. Not a single study could they provide that was about DTaP vaccine, polio, Hib, hepatitis B, Prevnar 13. 0. Zero studies, and that's what they released. Okay, now he was talking about the hepatitis B vaccine.
about whether or not it causes autism. Well, let me see. Here's RFK talking about basically the same thing. Here it is.
A nurse practitioner who was very famous. She testified before Congress 6 times. She was a public health official in Georgia, an advisor to the Pentagon. She was an advisor to NIH, universally respected, revered. She came to me with a transcript of a secret meeting with, I think, 52 vaccine industry officials from all the regulatory agencies, FDA, CDC, NIH, the European Medical Association, the WHO. They all had a secret meeting in a off CDC campus because they didn't want it to be subject to freedom of information requests. And they had convened this meeting because all these mothers who were complaining to CDC that my kid got poisoned by a vaccine and got autism, they actually did a study and they used the biggest database in the country called the Vaccine Safety Data Link, which is it's the vaccination records from the top 10 HMOs from millions of clients. They looked at the hepatitis B vaccine given during the first 30 days, and they'd compare that to kids who got it later or didn't get it at all. That vaccine, which is loaded with mercury. And what they found is kids who got it during the first 30 days had an 1,135% greater chance of getting a later autism diagnosis.
Did you hear that? 1,100% greater chance.
And they knew right then what was causing the autism epidemic. Autism had gone from 1 in 10,000 in my generation, and it still is in 69-year-old men, to 1 in 34 in my kids' generation. So they knew. And I don't know how it happened, but somebody had transcribed that meeting. And I published them in Rolling Stone magazine and in Salon simultaneously.
Okay, so he was putting that information out there. And of course, it's all just conspiracy theory, right? Well, I remind you that the Amish don't have these problems. Yeah, they don't. Let me see if I can pull that clip. I think I played it yesterday. Let's see here. Let me see if I can pull up yesterday's clips. Amish, where is it? Amish. I'll look for it later. I got other stuff I got to get to anyway. So we're talking about the Hep B vaccine. We're talking about the COVID vaccine. Yes, and let's see. Oh, and what's going on as far as this heart damage that is being experienced by children? Well, you might want to pay attention to this, and I also did some research here. Here's
a study of 1.7 million children found that heart damage only was found in COVID-vaxxed kids. This is huge news, ladies and gentlemen. A major study involving 1.7 million children has found that heart damage only appeared in children who'd received the COVID mRNA quote-unquote vaccines. Not a single unvaccinated child in the group suffered from heart-related problems. In addition, the researchers note 0 children from the entire group, vaccinated or unvaccinated, died from COVID-19. Furthermore, the study found that the COVID shots offered the children very little protection from the virus, with many becoming infected after just 14 to 15 weeks of receiving an injection. The 1.7 million children observed in the study were between the ages of 5 to 15 and were registered with the UK's national healthcare system. The study was conducted by a team of leading UK medical doctors, epidemiologists, biostatisticians, and public health experts led by Oxford University's Professor Combe D. Andrews. A preprint of the study's paper was published in the medRxiv Medical Journal. That's linked there in the article. The researchers were investigating the safety and effectiveness of Pfizer's vaccine in fully vaccinated, partially vaccinated, and unvaccinated children and teenagers. However, they discovered that cases of myocarditis and pericarditis only emerged in the vaccinated group. You can view that study linked in the article. Now, of course, this is very, very important, and these studies need to continue because of how many people lost their jobs, lost their platforms, were ostracized from society, even lost their families for questioning the possible safety or not so safety of these injections. And because of the fact that emergency use authorization was given to these despite the mounting evidence that they were not safe, which Pfizer knew and the FDA knew as well. That's why they tried to hide it for 75 years. and before a court forced them to bring it out.
Mm-hmm. So that was reported by the Vigilant News Network, by the way. I want to give credit where credit is due. And some of those folks that post on these social media platforms, it's really hard to give them credit because they use pseudonyms, and it's hard to identify. But nonetheless, they really do put out some incredible information. And by the way, what's the response from Albert Bourla? Now, he's the CEO of Pfizer. He doesn't like us talking about any of this stuff. So what does he have to say?
People that won't make money, some of them, by playing with the emotions of these people, are creating a whole conspiracy theory, and they are trying to basically to benefit and profit from this fear of the people. And this is who are the criminals.
Yeah, we're the criminals? We are the criminals by putting this information out there? Oh, Mr. Bourla, I can't wait to see you sporting an orange jumpsuit, ankle chains, and bracelets. I don't know what else to say. And by the way, in that last report about, let me see, where did it go? Yeah, this is the World Council for Health. The article is entitled mRNA Vaccines Linked to Catastrophic Ovarian Damage. Now, this is just as crazy. A groundbreaking study reveals that mRNA vaccines trigger irreversible destruction of women's primordial follicles, the finite egg reserve that dictates fertility and menopause timing. A more than 60% loss of primordial follicles. Non-renewable foundation of female fertility. In other words, women are basically, when they're born, they have only so many eggs. And each time they menstruate, one of those eggs goes down the fallopian tubes. Sometimes two, and then you get twins, if that happens. But the bottom line here is that these vaccines are destroying their ability to produce viable eggs. This is, again, I've said this so many times. The globalist plan is to reduce the world population by over 90%. And I'm looking for the clip here. I had Albert Bourla. It was a statement that he made. Unfortunately, when I went to make the audio, there's so much, they put in this spooky music, and it drowns out what the guy's saying. But basically what he said is, and this was about 5 years ago, he said that by the year 2023, and this is when they first rolled out the hokey pokey thingy dingy, he wanted to see the world population reduced by 50%. 50. Let that settle in. If we got a world population of 8 billion people, he wanted to knock off 4 billion people off of this planet. And they call us conspiracy theorists? This is madness, folks. Just hey, how do you feel about it?
We're mad as hell, and we're not going to take this anymore.
That's right, we're mad as hell, and we're not going to take this anymore. So what's it going to take to get America off of its big, fat, pimple-covered butt and get involved? I mean, the liberals out there, they got no problem. They're heavy into organization, and they get out there and they demonstrate and they protest and they did all this stuff. But the conservatives, I don't see them out there demonstrating. And, but we got to get involved. Somehow we got to stop the madness. Anyway, I want to remind you that Ursula von der Leyen, she's all behind this. Yeah, she was speaking at the, by the way, if you don't know who she is, she's the commissioner of the EU. And listen to what she has to say.
A better world also means a healthier world. And vaccination is our best chance to do this. Vaccines have saved millions of lives in the past 50 years. But right now, millions of children are still at risk. They need vaccines.
Yeah, really?
So we must continue to support vaccination around the world. And today, I am pleased to pledge $290 million for Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance.
Yeah, the Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance. You know who that is? That's Bill Gates.
Each child should be protected. And more will come. Together with Gavi, we have the goal to vaccinate 500 million children by 2030. Europe will do its fair share. You can count on us, my friends.
Oh, yeah, I can count on you. Yeah, right. I got to tell you, this woman is evil. Evil. And by the way, she also has her own values. And I've played this before. Where does she get her values?
Europe is the values of the Talmud.
Europe has the values of the Talmud. Listen to it again. Let me see here. Yeah, okay, here. Hit play again. There we go. Come on.
Europe is the values of the Talmud.
Yes, Europe has the values of the Talmud. I don't know where she gets that concept, but for those of you who are not familiar with the Talmud, I suggest you do a little research and read what the Talmud has to say. Because there are Jews out there that go by the Torah and Jews that go by the Talmud. And you need to know what the Talmud has to say. And I'm sorry, Europe does not have the values of the Talmud. Anyway, I wanted to share that. And she's being called out, Bless her heart, Eva Vladingerbroek. She's from the Netherlands. And let me see if I could pull that one up here. Oh, yeah. She brought the house down with this one. She went after Ursula von der Leyen with a vengeance. Here it is.
Ursula von der Leyen thinks she is untouchable. She thinks she is above the law. But we are here today to remind her that she is not. So allow me to take this moment, look straight into the camera, and speak truth to power for a moment. Mrs. von der Leyen, do you think about what you have done? Do you think about the people who suffer because of your policies? Do you think about the people who have died because of a vaccine that you pushed on them, that you bought behind closed doors? Mrs. von der Leyen, do you ever think about the cries of the mothers who cry at night because their children were raped or murdered by immigrants that you let in? Do you ever think about the farmers whose entire life's work were destroyed because you pushed the communist agenda? Do you ever think about the people who cannot afford food for their children because you implemented policies that are crippling our economy while you were able to send your 7 children off to the most expensive schools in Europe? Do you ever think about that? I bet you don't, because none of this is happening in your backyard. But, ladies and gentlemen, I do. I think about those people. I think about them. I will not forget them. So let me promise you right here, right now, I will not stop fighting for them. I will not stop fighting for the truth, and I will not stop fighting for my people. The time of zero accountability will come to an end, and I will promise you, we will make Europe great again.
Wow, this woman is something else. So if you haven't checked her out, her name is Eva Vladingerbroek, and she's from the Netherlands. And she is creating quite a stir. She wants to, she said, make Europe great again. And she's going after Ursula von der Leyen with a vengeance. And it's well-deserved. Now, again, this globalist agenda. And again, you can call me conspiracy theorist if you want. But I mean, I've been digging at this stuff. I fell down the rabbit hole over 30 years ago. 35 years ago, come to think about it. Yeah, it was back in the 1989-90 period of time during the first Gulf War. And I got to tell you, folks, those of us who've been paying attention all these years, like I said, there's no joy, and I told you so for either party. But my God, we've been screaming it from the rooftops, and what do we get out of it? We get doxxed, we get ridiculed, we get blackballed, we get ignored, we get ridiculed, etc., etc. There's no reward in this other than knowing that we're just standing in the light and trying to spread the truth. And that's all that motivates me. to be quite honest. But there are a lot of people out there that have been paying attention. And just in this one broadcast here, and I've been covering this issue with these hokey-pokey thingy-dingies for quite some time. So, we're talking about not just the COVID vaccine. We're talking about the hepatitis B vaccine. We're talking about, basically all the vaccines. Because they've been screwing with us for all of our lives. And you know what? Now that people are putting it all together, whoa, there's going to be hell to pay. All right, I got another clip I'm going to get to here, but I got a caller here, so let's open the phone lines. The phone number here is 215-867-8255. We got someone on the line. Who do we have, and where are you calling from?
This is Melissa in Maryland. I don't know if we're going to stay connected, so if you lose me, it's not intentional.
Okay, go ahead, Melissa.
Have you heard of the civil flag?
The civil flag? You mean the flag of peace?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, with the stripes going vertical. Yeah, that represents the United States at peace, and the flag that we fly here is the flag of war. Yeah, I know the difference. Go ahead.
So, you know that there's a separate flag in times of declared war. You know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, that makes you one of the elite of the country because, okay, why don't you tell me if you know when we stop using the peace flag and why? Because it's been since the 1940s since we declared war.
Mm-hmm.
And when did we stop using the civil flag and why? Because according to the flagpole, we are at war.
Well, yeah, I think that came about in the late 1800s, right around 1871, I think. Don't hold me to it, but I believe it was around that period of time, right around the time when the United States incorporated. And we went from a constitutional, organic constitution to a corporation. So, and something else that's different, a lot of folks don't know this. This is real important because 20 years ago when I was doing the Power Hour, we were looking for an official flag of the United States. And we went through this whole thing. And the flag... Go ahead.
It has a few flags, but anyway.
What's that?
I said I think the U.S. has more than one flag, but anyway.
Oh, yeah. Well, the issue here is that according to the United States Code, Title IV, and we researched this, Title IV flag is different from the flags that everybody flies. I mean, if you want to order a flag from Alliance or from any other, or buy a flag at the local department store, usually those flags are 3 by 5, 3 feet height, 5 feet length, or the fly, okay? According to Title IV, the dimensions are incorrect. And, they say, oh, you want to fly the American flag. Great. Well, America, this country is not known as America. This is the United States. That's the name of this country. We happen to be sitting on a continent called America, North America. But it's the United States. That's the name of this country. It's not America. So if you're flying a 3 by 5 flag, it is not compliant with Title IV. Title IV explains that the height of the flag, if that's a unit of 1, then that means the fly, or the horizontal length of the flag, should be 1.9. So if you've got a flag that's 10 feet high, it should be 19 feet across, okay? And that does not, a 3 by 5 flag doesn't subscribe to that. So the dimensions are wrong. Title IV gives you a plus or minus 5% variance. But the American flag that everybody flies doesn't represent the United States. So if you're flying a quote-unquote American flag, there's no such thing. So it's just, that's kind of interesting. So I just thought I'd throw that in there.
Its size is included in that.
I'm sorry?
Okay. All right. Well, no. Okay. So you're saying that you think in the late 1800s is when we stopped using the civil flag, the flag of peacetime.
I'm saying is that that's sort of when it got deep sixed. I don't know for sure. I can't speak in authority for that. But, we've been flying the United States flag or the American flag, the stars and stripes. That's what we know. But yeah, the United States has been, how many wars since this country was founded 350 years ago? I mean, we've been over 250 wars or something.
Declared wars, because, we had the declared wars on the Senate's website. But if you look at Wikipedia, there's a whole slew of wars that have not been declared.
Yeah. Well, that's something we'll have to look into. Hey, Melissa, thank you for the call. I appreciate that. Now we're
okay.
All right. You have a lovely weekend. Be safe for your for 4th of July.
Thank you.
All right. God bless. Okay. Bye-bye. All right. Thank you very much, Melissa. I appreciate that. But that's just a little bit of trivia. If you folks are curious, look up Title IV, the Title IV flag, and read it, and then you'll understand that the flags that we fly are not compliant. So, anyway, that said, back to the issue at hand, now that we've had a complete change of subject, all of this discussion about these vaccines, the hepatitis B vaccine and the COVID vaccine, all of these vaccines now are under question because they've been throwing thimerosal, which is basically antifreeze, and mercury, and now we're finding out that there are, there's graphene oxide and lipid particles and all kinds of garbage in these vaccines, and they are literally killing people. And I just covered the story there about, how many children now are suffering heart damage. And it's just, it's insane. It is absolutely insane. But you know what? People are starting to figure it out. And I'll tell you, there are mothers out there that are furious. And they have every right to be. They are out for revenge. They are out for blood. What these monsters at the vaccine companies and the CDC and the FDA and Pfizer and Moderna and Johnson & Johnson, all of you people, all of them, they need to face charges of crimes against humanity and face, as they say, let the punishment fit the crime. Anyway, give a listen to this. Now, this if this doesn't get you on fire, I don't know what will. Listen up.
Now that we know that the CDC did a study in regards to autism, and that all of these children, millions of them, have some type or degree of autism. It's not just autism. These children in Shriners hospitals and St. Jude's, all these children with cancer, all of those babies that grew up in households and they were colic and wouldn't stop crying, and the doctors would say they're just colic and it must be a stomach ache and gas. All of the SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. The allergies, the anxiety issues, the heart issues of our children. All of it is vaccine injury or vaccine death. All of it. They do not get away with it. Crimes against humanity. What they have done is so evil. They're all going down. And us parents who have vaccine-injured children, including me, are gonna get justice. And these monsters will not get away with it.
I certainly hope so. I certainly hope that the arrests start coming. And again, I point out, when a bank robber runs out the front door of the bank, he's got the money in his hand, he turns the corner, and the police grab him, and they get him red-handed. They caught him. There's no doubt whatsoever that he committed this crime. So what do? Do they start a panel? Do they start an investigatory, I can't even say it, investigatory, I don't know. Do they have, have committees? Do they just go around their bureaucratic BS? No. If you catch a bank robber red-handed, you're under arrest, period. You're hauled off to jail. They caught you red-handed. Well, we got so many treasonists, and they have been caught red-handed. They've got the receipts. Why aren't there arrests? Why aren't you having hey, Kash Patel, hey, Bongino, hey, Pam Bondi, what the heck are you doing? Why aren't we seeing these arrests? What is it? Did somebody use one of those 3 magic words on you?
Bribery, coercion, blackmail.
Maybe so. Or the coercion part of it, hey, don't put it past these monsters.
Hey, if you expose this, it'd be terrible if something happened to your family.
Yeah, that's how they do it, folks. I remember back in 97, I think it was, I was in Colorado with Joyce, my former cohort, and we were fighting for the Gulf War veterans, and we had all of the documentation. We had the Senate reports. We had the congressional hearings. We had the after-action reports from CENTCOM, and we approached one of the senators there and said, you've got all this information. Why aren't you helping the vets? Why aren't you exposing these crimes? And the response was, well, I have a 15-year-old girl, and I want to make sure she has a sweet 16th birthday party. That's how they work it, folks. So the question is, what's it going to take for America to get off of their butts and start getting involved? What's it going to take for us to break out the pitchforks and the torches and storm the castle? Now, I'm not advocating insurrection, but we've got to see some justice here. I mean, some real justice. And like I said, let the punishment fit the crime. And I'm tired of having, we hear about, all of the scurrilous and scandalous stories. Of course, everybody's focused on P. Diddy right now. It's just because we have prurient interests. But until we start seeing these arrests and, release the client list, Bongino. Hey, Kash Patel, we want to know who was paying to do all these horrendous things to the children. I'm tired of waiting. I really am. Anyway, I would, as we reach the end of this broadcast, boy, the time goes by quickly. I would ask humbly and respectfully that you visit our website, the WTF Reports, and share some of the former broadcasts. Yesterday was fire. Yesterday was a fiery broadcast. So I would suggest share that with your friends. We got to wake these people up. Wake them and shake them. Anyway. Yeah, this is a Wednesday, hump day, don't be a chump day, and don't you dare crump day. Well, unfortunately, we see too many people out there that are wringing their hands and they, unfortunately subscribe to all of those little phrases that basically, neutralize you. Oh, I'm only one person. Oh, you can't fight City Hall.
What am I going to do?
My vote doesn't really count anyway. These are all issues or phrases that basically emasculate you. No, you've got the power. Every single one of us has the power to get up and be vocal and start screaming. And don't back down. Don't you dare back down. Anyway. All right, that's going to wrap it up for today's broadcast. And as again, I ask you to do business with our sponsors. And I didn't promote Get More Tank today. I should have, but if you haven't checked out the Get More Tank, you got to do that. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for today's Wednesday broadcast. And I'm hoping that, yesterday's broadcast we were talking about the potential threat. A biological attack on July 4th. If you didn't hear yesterday's broadcast, go back and listen to it. The documents are there and the audio receipts are there. So I hope that you have a safe July 4th. I'll be doing a replay on Friday. So anyway, that said, God bless you all. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon. And again, do business with our sponsors and maybe even pick up some merch. We got baseball caps and coffee mugs and T-shirts. So help us to keep the lights on here. That said, Y'all have a wonderful day. God bless you all. Stay safe and stay free. And I'll see you tomorrow.
Anymore.